I had many health complications from hormonal imbalance. I had thyroid problems to many digestive issues that doctors couldn't figure out. And then I was diagnosed with 2 autoimmune diseases before I was even 30. And that made me question why, what's happening, what is all these things happening to my body, and why is it at such a rapid pace? And I noticed it started happening when I got off birth control pills. So then that's when I started understanding and learning about the hormones and how detrimental it was.
Welcome to the Blyssful Life podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Gregory. I was a burned out, bankrupt, and struggling baby mama who hit rock bottom in every aspect of my life. But that was the catalyst for my incredible transformation journey. Now, as a self-care alchemist, I'm here to empower high-performing women like you to go from burnout to bliss. Join me as I share invaluable lessons, personal stories, and practical tools to help you discover deep self-love, heal from toxic relationships, navigate hormonal changes, find inner peace, and rewrite your money story. Get ready to transform your life and live with ease, abundance, and success. Join me now on the Blyssful Life podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blyssful Life podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Gregory, and today I have a guest, and we're going to talk about gut health and mental well-being. My guest today is Lauren Wells. She is the CEO of Hervival, and we are here to talk about all things gut health, self-care, mental well-being, all the things, because it is an important part of who we are as people, and our gut health does impact us. If you've had tummy aches, if you have just problems in general with digestion, then this is a conversation you really want to listen to. So welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yes, thank you, Samantha. I appreciate being here. Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, of course, we want to know who you are, Lauren. How did you get to this point where you are talking about gut health, and how and why did you start your business?
Yes, who am I? I am Lauren L.C. Wells. They know me as the Gut Health Bestie and Breathwork Sis. I am a wife. I am a good girlfriend, a daughter, an auntie, a godmom. Love my kids, but I give them back. I am a certified digestive health coach. I've been in the health and wellness industry for 10 years, and my expertise has been along the lines of nutrition, gut health, mindfulness, and how all of these things come together. And I've really been coaching and supporting women on focusing on stress management and burnout preventions on how to achieve optimal well-being. I like to talk about optimal well-being on a soul level so that they can live a more fulfilling, healthy, and aligned lifestyle. So how I got into it, I had every health complication, not every health complication, let me be mindful of that, but I had many health complications from hormonal imbalance. I had thyroid problems to many digestive issues that doctors couldn't figure out. And then I was diagnosed with 2 autoimmune diseases before I was even 30. And that made me question why, what's happening, what is all these things happening to my body, and why is it at such a rapid pace? And I noticed it started happening when I got off of birth control pills. So then that's when I started understanding and learning about hormones and how detrimental it was being so young and what it was doing to my health, even though it wasn't showing up in many like blood works, or it took years to get diagnosis and so many testing for doctors to finally start realizing to look at my hormone levels. So it really opened up. I'm thankful for that path because it opened up my own self-discovery, self-education personally. I was already, at that time, I was a fitness trainer. I started out as a fitness trainer in this field, but I studied nursing. I was going to be a nurse. I went to college for rehabilitation. So I've always been in the health and wellness field for 25 plus years at this point. But professionally, I've been consistently for over 11 years at this point now. And I just couldn't understand what was happening. You know what I mean? Like, why am I having all these issues? Why am I having these skin problems? What is wrong? And I was like, I don't want to be on medication. I was told I had to take medication for the rest of my life. So that started my own personal journey in the midst of a year or almost 2 years in professionally, helping other people with more aesthetic reasons of being healthy, like, going to the gym and working out. I eat as best as possible, but I didn't know all of the preventative ways because, as I said, I studied nursing. I went all through high school and college. I worked as a pharmacy tech. So I knew more of the Western philosophy once you get sick. I didn't know the things before you get sick. What are the preventative measures? I didn't understand what was a holistic lifestyle. And then I also, for my own personal life in the last few years, I started getting into more self-care, how much it affects our bodies, our hormones, our nervous systems. So I'm excited to talk about all these things and why gut health works together and why mindfulness and stress management is so important, because it's been a pivotal part of my own personal life as well as professional. When I started to heal myself, of course, I always say I was my first client.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started to heal myself, of course, I've been able to help others, from friends, families, to even clients. And it's been such a beautiful roller coaster journey, personally and professionally, in my career. And I'm excited to talk about it today.
That is extensive experience level from both personal and professional. And I'm curious, you mentioned that with your own, where your problem seemed to have started was because of the birth control, when you got off birth control and how that was where it first showed up. Is there any other factors that were involved, like maybe stress, or was it purely a chemical possibly reaction, and then maybe your body just not even taking to it very well?
I would say that's when because my body went haywire and needed to, like, unwire from the birth control,
Hmm.
where stuff just started happening too rapid. And I'm like, what is wrong? I don't feel good. But I've had issues way before. I was picking up weight in my midsection, getting very
Mm.
puffy in my face. That was typically where I picked up the weight. And then those are signs now I'm able to know, hey, get your hormone levels checked.
Mhm.
I was pretty swollen in my neck. I was getting a lot of rashes in my neck. That's thyroid. Like, I
Mhm.
know those things now. So I had them for a long time. Like, I had these challenges, even from the autoimmune. I was showing signs from junior high, now that I know. So I can be able to contribute. A lot of that had to do with going back to nutrition. I didn't grow up with the best diet. I grew up in a single home. So I was easy, quick oodles and Chef Boyardee meals, very processed foods. I didn't even know that
Mhm.
was processed foods. It was just, that's the foods that we need. That was quick. I liked it. And my mom didn't have to cook, and it was cheap. So
Right.
I pretty much, that was all that it was definitely a start from diet. And
Mhm.
then, of course, stress, and that started to increase over time. And then, if you want to talk a little deeper there, like spiritual things, like this is why I talk about in Hervival, we talk about revive your mind, body, and spirit. We cannot
Mhm.
leave that off the table. Trauma, things I had to
Mhm. Yeah.
just numb myself, that actually affected my nervous system. Body keeps all that type of energy. I moved around a lot, all those shifts and changes, and just certain traumas and things like that happens growing up. All of that affects us. So
Mhm.
we're affected even from the womb. We carry our mother's trauma if you study epigenetics. So it was like so much. Like, now that I understand the importance of why we need to heal, even before we can conceive if we can,
Mhm.
I'm able to trace back before I even got here, to be honest. But I would say, if I could go back and pinpoint what made life easier, diet was the biggest one. The birth control, getting on birth control, even though the doctor said get on it to help you have your cycles.
Mhm.
That was the thing. And then, of course, stress. And that started to come, of course, more as I got older, more responsibilities, running a business. All of
Mhm.
those things started to come later. So those would be the contributors.
I know we're going to talk a lot about gut health, and when you mentioned your diet, for me, I know that I've learned that I'm like gluten sensitive. And
Mm-hmm.
when I eat certain things, I get an immediate stomach ache. And so now there's certain things I just refuse to eat because not just stomach ache, but like body aches. And so I know that is like inflammation and all that, it plays a role in it. And so I know a lot of people aren't aware of it. So can you share a little bit more about like gluten intolerance and sensitivity and inflammation? Because even with the autoimmune diseases, I know a lot of it has a root in inflammation and everything like that. But people just eat. They eat whatever is in front of them. Not being aware the correlation between the food you eat and the stress that it puts on your body because of these different sensitivities.
Mm-hmm. It does help for you to self-assess of what those play a factor in. Some people do have high, like if people are celiac or do
Mm-hmm.
have wheat allergies. At one point, I thought I was gluten sensitive, but once I healed my gut, I didn't have as much of the challenge that I did. So cleansing, detoxing,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Elimination diets is really important because I thought I just knew I was celiac. I was like, I have to
Yeah.
have celiac disease. Even if I just breathe and drink water, this hurts my stomach. But like a lot of the foods that I ate before that was causing challenges, once I did the elimination diet, once I cleansed and I repaired my gut got stronger, my I was able to metabolize and break down foods better, right? I started
Mm-hmm.
to restore the enzymes I need to break these things down. Then yeah, I didn't have as much of a challenge. But if people do have gluten related disorders such as celiac, now I'm not a doctor, but I am a certified digestive health coach, so this is
Mm-hmm.
for education purpose only, just putting that disclaimer out there.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
if you do have celiac disease, wheat allergies, and then there's NCGC. It's non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have celiac, but it is more like you have a sensitivity to gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times those, like you have a challenging time to be able to break down and ingest gluten. And I would say this is good to see after have you cleanse, have you detox, and then reassess these things. Also, too, sometimes the breads are paired with artificial ingredients and
Right.
sugars and stuff that may be breaking down. So are you actually getting a clean source? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the type of breads and stuff I was eating, like potato bread, just like the Hawaiian rolls, the typical things that's at the store. So yeah, all of those was causing issues just because it has starches that our bodies can't break down or paired with sugar. So it is definitely could be a food combination thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big one. But I would say there are certain gluten related disorders such as celiac, wheat allergy, or the disorder if they are non-gluten, but you still have a problem breaking it down. But I will always say talk to your doctor, assess what that really is after you've done like a cleanse or you
Mm-hmm.
got some type of gut health testing. I do that. I support my clients with gut health testing. Food sensitivities help. There's been a lot of controversial back and forth because a lot of times what can come up in the blood work is the foods you eat the most. So it
Mm-hmm.
might be a little bit off, but I think it's good tools. Like I've gotten food sensitivity tests. I think it's always good to just have all the puzzle pieces on the table and
Mm-hmm.
see what goes together and what works. Because like I said, it was just so frustrating. Everything was causing discomfort. But what I found was when I started to do more routine cleansing and
Mm-hmm.
then started to swap to have better quality of foods, and I talk about this in my Stop Meal Planning Eat Smart workshop masterclass that I have that's in our community, in our Hervival app. When I started to do those things by swapping the better qualities of food, cleansing my gut so my gut can repair, my gut lining is stronger to be the guard it's supposed to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have those problems like I used to.
Okay.
But
That
you
makes
couldn't tell
sense.
me back then I wasn't celiac. I didn't have celiac.
Right.
I was like, I know I do. The doctors can't see it. And that was one of the things that helped me a lot.
Okay, I love that. And I'm a believer in detoxing and elimination diets and stuff like that because when I was younger, my family was involved with a lot of natural health and holistic health programs. And so I did learn a lot, which was really very helpful. I think that's why I don't have as many problems at this point.
Yeah, no, I wish
But
I was younger too.
yeah.
And then, of
But
course, having your probiotic, getting them
yeah.
in your foods, getting a supplement form,
Hmm.
getting some good quality greens, chlorophyll. Like the two things, if anybody be like, hey, Lauren, in 2 seconds, what can you tell me to do? Cleanse, to get some chlorophyll in you daily, whether they're drops, supplements, liquids, or in foods, and some probiotics, some pro, and probiotics. I love the ones that have the three together because a
Okay.
lot of times we don't get enough in our diet and our foods, and unfortunately they're manipulating our food so much
Hmm.
that supplement. I'm a big advocate of supplements just because of the things that they're doing to our food. So if I could say in quick 10 seconds, those are your three.
Okay. Where would you even get the three probiotics in one? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I'm starting to see them more now. So there's quite a few different brands. We have one in our superfood store. It's called Biomedic. that we have and support. But there's other brands. If you're starting to see them, they have them in liquid forms, pill forms. I've even seen one in Target. There's a brand called Gut Health Complete by Beekeepers. That's a brand that has your prebiotic, your probiotic, and your postbiotic. So it preps, it feeds the bacteria that you need, and then also help with elimination post after. So
that's exciting. Okay. I'll tell my daughter about that too, because she's starting with the probiotics and everything, because she's had gut health issues for a while.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So the role of gut brain health, the axis, what's it called?
Gut brain
The
axis,
vague.
you're right.
Okay.
Oh, through the
So
vagus nerve.
yes, the vagus nerve. So talk about a little bit about that, because I know a lot of people, some people heard of it, most people don't know what that is. I'm just learning what that's all about. So just share more about that, please.
Yeah, so I'll share briefly. I actually have an upcoming workshop and event where I talk a lot about the vagus nerve and how to be able to work with the vagus nerve and the gut brain axis. But pretty much the vagus nerve is literally like it's known as the wandering nerve, right? So it branches through and connect to the biggest component of your autonomic nervous system. And it widely ranges throughout the major functions, such as like your heart, your digestion, throughout your major organs that branches through. And it actually plays a big role when it comes to you feeling hungry. Like it's the communicator, right?
Okay.
The wandering nerve that communicates through. And it plays a role as far as maintaining homeostasis, your overall health in general, your mood. It communicates, you know how we play the game telephone, right? And we have the little wire through the telephone. Like that's the vagus nerve in a sense, right? So I always talk about, this is why I talk about I would say I'm the gut health bestie because I explain it to you like a friend, right? So I always like to say your gut and your brain are besties. Your brain is upstairs and your gut is downstairs. And then it communicates through that vagus nerve. And it plays that role of being able to support you for the communication. Your nervous system is affected by that as well. So it is important to understand and leverage that the vagus nerve function as it plays a major role with so many aspects, as well as your hormones communicating, your, like I said, your mood, so many aspects to it. It's also like a lot of therapeutic practice actually does specific things to stimulate the vagus nerve, which is called vagus nerve stimulation, so VNS. So then that's where work that I do through breath work. Even if you go to acupuncture, they do specific things. They talk about the chi, right? That chi energy even wanders and moves throughout the vagus nerve. Massages. There's certain particular daily things that we don't realize that we do or we don't do enough that can help with the vagus nerve stimulation to help to either stimulate or relax the nervous system.
So how can what would be the situation where you would need to relax the vagus nervous system?
Well, most of us are highly stressed. So that a lot of us who are chronically stressed or have like digestive challenges or problems or like nervous, let's say you're about to speak, there's certain breathing techniques that can help you to calm your nervous system. And when you calm your nervous system, that is transported throughout your vagus nerve. So it's anxiety, people who have anxiety. Those are specific things that's there.
Nice. And since we're both into self-care practices with this breath work, talk more about how taking care of our gut, taking care of our vagus nervous system is an important part of self-care and the practical things that we can do to make sure that we are not just physically doing well, but mentally and spiritually too.
Yeah, what I love talking about, the reason why I talk about gut health is, as we were talking a little bit before this, is not for vanity reasons as far as, oh, lose weight. That stuff happens anyway when we learn how to eat for our body type to help to support our gut and our blood. But the biggest thing that's causing most challenges for people in the body is stress, right? When our body is not feeling safe enough and our parasympathetic, you have your sympathetic nervous system, and then you have your parasympathetic nervous system. So you want to have, these are what's called, like I said, it's the automatic nervous system. So it's the autonomic functions. Once we start understanding our wires, people say, oh, you got your wires crossed.
Right.
We have that going on in our own body. When we start understanding how to have like parasympathetic control and how to be, and the parasympathetic nervous system is more that rest and digest. And then we say the sympathetic is the fight or flight, right?
Okay.
Where, and sometimes we need that adrenaline, right? When we're in danger, or if we do need to go through a specific workout. So it's not to say we want to be calm and relaxed all the time. There's a need for both, right? But we want to be mindful of having those aspects, because if our body is constantly in that fight or flight, that sympathetic response, and the adrenaline is pumping, your heart rate is up, your blood pressure is up, your digestive system is like overstimulated, then this is why we have a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And then when that starts to happen, then we start having other chronic problems. And I'm going to speak in specific to gut health to go keep this in context, but to go back to the gut health and our mental health, this is why I talk about gut health, because it's literally your garden. It is your powerhouse. It is your source, right? So if there is dis-ease, where there's a discomfort to the body, the sympathetic nervous system is highly overstimulated, and then we're having digestive challenges and problems, that your gut lining is not even as strong. It starts to open. I always talk about your gut lining needs to be like soldiers, so lined and partnered together. But when we have a lot of inflammation in the gut, when we start being chronically stressed, when our cortisol levels are high, when we're eating crap and sodas and alcohol and all these things, this is what happens. It's like there's these villi around the lining, and they look like fingers. So for anybody who's just listened to the audio, I'm giving an example of my fingers being locked together and then expanding with all of these challenges that's happening. When that starts to happen, then we are, I can't think of the word right now. We are basically, I don't want to say in danger, but we are susceptible. There we go. We are susceptible to challenges. We now have invaders that can come. So from all of those things and foods, they start to leak through our gut lining and our blood barrier. And then that starts to communicate to the brain. And then that starts to stimulate anxiety, depression, overwhelm, all those things. So when we have a chemical imbalance, even if they may come from medication, that's why it's so important to tend to our gut health as it's a factor of our mental health.
Wow. In our Western culture, the separation between the body and the mind is such I won't say wrong, because it's just a practice, but it's so important to understand the integration between the mind and the body, and how when your mind is not right, your body is not right, and vice versa. And so it is imperative to understand and to get the holistic view of ourselves. We are whole people. We are not just a body, or not just a brain, or not just a spirit. It's all integrated into one. And so when you can really understand that and empower yourself, even through your health, starting with the physical, and then like for your company, moving it into the mind, the body, the spirit. And so that you're, again, reaching this holistic view and lifestyle, and not just, I'm going to see my physical doctor, I'm going to see my brain doctor, I'm going to go see the pastor for my mind. So it's so important to have it all integrated.
And this is why we talk about self-mastery so much in Hervival, because I grew up in a church, so I still have those roots, but I've expanded so much beyond just within a church wall, right? Because we are spiritual beings before there was ever a church built. We are spiritual beings before there was ever a religious name to call something, right? And within the good book, in all these years, all these religions, all these things, they all say the same thing. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we have everything we need within us. So if that's told to us, and we know that in universal language, all across different religions, why aren't we taking time to learn those parts of ourselves, right? Why aren't we taking that time? So this is why we encourage so much in Hervival, and why we're big on economy. Like, we're a social enterprise, not economy, community, right? As a social enterprise, we are a community build space, as we educate, as we learn, as we provide the programming, as we do these events. The community aspects is so important as we navigate and learn this together and share the significance along our own journey of self-mastery, of self-discovery, because you can go to the doctors, you can go to these things. These things are important, but they also can't unpack your trauma, right? This is why therapy is great. This is why journaling is great. This is why you doing the whole holistic part. And it can feel like a lot. It can feel overwhelming. But I feel like this is where I feel like the key to anything is consistency. And I'm a big believer of consistency can be very hard. Discipline can be very challenged while we're out here doing life every day. Life be life, like they say, right? And we're always just, so many things are taking away from us, our work and everything. So I believe that the key to consistency is community, right? Because after, we always need to have and go back to a space where conversations like this is commonly had. In our community, we have our accountability support calls. We're always talking about what's your wellness wins when it comes to your self-care. What are those things? Because we're so busy talking about accolade wins. Who are you after we drop all those accolades, right? Because sometimes when we hold on to those things, it could be a detriment to our body and how we feel, because we don't know that part of ourselves. So this is why we are very big on talking about revive. Like Hervival is all about her revival, and why we talk about reviving her mind, body, and spirit, and curating a space of that and allowing that path, the slow and steady self-discovery and self-mastery of that path as she evolves and grows on learning her mind, her body, and her spirit as we educate ourselves. So it is a lot, but it's also not a sprint. It's a journey. It's a marathon. We evolve in these areas of based on what seasons in our lives that we're ready for. Another thing that we do inside of our membership and community, we have seasonal challenges where we adapt to, if we understand and adapt to nature, right? And we know when fall comes, the trees are not worried about letting go their leaves. Like those are things where we need to retreat and get ready to go into more of a hibernation, a slower pace. So during the wintertime is when we pick up on a lot of our spiritual practices. During the spring, we do a lot of our body or cleansing and detox. During the summer, we're a little more physically active. All of those aspects by having different practices throughout the different seasons of the year. So then we're literally getting our wellness and taking care of ourselves all year long without feeling like this chore, especially us as Black women, right? We're overachievers. We're the first, the few, the only who might have went to college or did all these things. So we're trying to get it all right. And this is the space where we like to curate, where we can just like put all of that, the heavy loads, the bags down, and let's explore. Let's have some self-exploration. And that by taking the time of exploring and journeying, and even for me, I wouldn't be able to learn these things or share when I was having specific challenges or knowing the traumas and where this happened without making anything wrong about it, you know, because that's where mindfulness comes from. It's just observing, being a passive witness without any self-critic, just realizing it and then assessing it if it's things that we need to adapt or shift or take off our plate. So yeah, it's really important how all those things come together, and it starts to be like a beautiful blossoming journey.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And I think even as you were just talking about Black women specifically, often we have either been, I'll say groomed, but it's like we are in many cases maybe one-dimensional. And so we feel that if we're not achieving, if we're not taking care of other people, if we're not doing everything for an external source of validation or approval, then we do that, but then we would neglect the internal. We neglect the growth, the self-mastery, as you just spoke about. And because we've been so used to, so accustomed to this external activity, and not the turning inward. It's like you said, it's so hard to start the practice, and I'm called a practice.
It is a practice.
It is totally a practice, and realizing that we have an entire life to go through this journey of self-mastery, self-discovery, self-evolution. And part of that is knowing your body. So knowing what your body triggers are, knowing your mind, know what your mental triggers are, knowing your spirit, knowing what your spiritual triggers are, dealing with the traumas and really empowering ourselves to heal ourselves so that we feel that we're no longer one-dimensional, but we are whole people and we don't allow other people to make us one-dimensional either. And we can let go of that strong Black woman cape. We can let go of the
Mm-hmm.
superwoman cape and really just embody and embrace the fact that, hey, I have a very rich inner life and inner beauty just as much as I have an external beauty in life. And that the people that I take time for myself as much or more than I take time for other people.
Ooh, yeah, that's and that goes into just us being able to, because like you said, a narrative, especially, I can't speak for everyone. I'm a Black woman, so this is all I can speak on. But we pride ourselves to the strong, the brave, the courageous, the bold, and that serves us, right?
Yeah.
When I had learned different curriculums of life through a program, they call it a strong suit. It served us. It served its purpose. But there's times where we need to take that off to uncover. And there's a lot of us that gets very scared because we wrapped our identity around that, or we don't know or have the tools to navigate the feelings and emotions that come up when we slow down and start feeling those feelings. Like, I didn't like to cry. It felt weak. Like, why we sit around here talking and cry all the time? Like, I got stuff to do. I was about to cry.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of us don't know how to do that. This is why either getting into self-care spaces, groups, and communities is important. Going to therapy, being along other communities, spaces, sisterhood tribes, or groups who's also doing that work, so we can be able to self-identify the things that we particularly need and get the tools we need in our toolbox. Right? We need tools, just like we need tools to build certain things or fix certain things in our house, or we need certain type of clothing to be able to go outside to weather any storm. We need those things in our own personal life. Like, why don't we look at that inside? You're going to have hurt. You're going to have pain. You're going to have grief. We can't avoid it. We try to avoid it. And even to the point where we try to avoid something we're all promised, death. People don't want to talk about death. They don't want to get life insurance. They don't want to do things. But the more that we equipped ourselves and just realize it's just a matter of tools, allowing ourselves space and grace for the capacity that we can at a time, then that's when we can know and, oh, okay, it's doing, just like when we see it's raining, let me get my umbrella and some rain boots. Okay, I'm feeling some grief and I'm going through, let me journal, let me talk, let me go to spaces where I feel lifted up, let me go to therapy. Whatever these different tools are that we experience, and we need to be just as equipped as we are to society and weather, to our own inner challenges and life paths. So yeah. A lot of us, I know I'm speaking to the girlies out there that used to run away from this work, and because I would overwork and be very busy in my strong and my masculine energy so much. I didn't know what I didn't know how to embrace the feminine energy, because when I didn't have nobody to trust, or people would fail me or disappoint, and I realized I needed to have and give that to myself in order to attract that. And thankfully I did, where people started to do that. Thank God for my husband and stuff, but you got to become that first. And that's where I talk about you have to unpack the trauma and things like that to embrace. So it's quite the journey and work, but it's possible if you believe it, and being in spaces where conversations like this is had. So this podcast is gold, where women can be able to listen to these type of things and have these realizations, because that's what it was. It just wasn't around these type of conversations to start having awareness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that I, I don't know, I know when I was younger, the thought of going to therapy was like, you go to the church and you pray about it,
Don't tell nobody your business. And
exactly. And I'm glad that we're in this space where we're opening up more, we're exploring more, and we are realizing that, you know what? I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired of suffering. I'm tired of this always being in this angst, and my body literally making me, I have to get to a space where I'm not just running to the doctor, even though that's important, and I'm not just taking a pill because that is the only option I think I have. There are more options. And then again, realizing the mind body connection, that this trauma that I'm stuffing down my diet, which is probably because of the trauma, and then all the ripple effect of all the decisions that we made, the trauma that we've had, and really being to the place where enough is enough. You're tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired, literally. And you now are saying, okay, it's all about me now. I'm taking control and I'm going to do something about my life instead of waiting
Hmm.
for someone else to help you or do something for you. Because, like you said, when you get to this place of self-trust, when you get to this place of I need to do these things for myself first before I can expect other people to do it, and to open and be vulnerable with yourself, because I think even that self vulnerability is lacking is very much needed so that you can be compassionate and gracious with yourself first and understand that all the ways that you're stuffing down and suppressing is harming you, and that
Hmm.
the loving thing to do is to open it up and take a look at it, process it, and then release it, and then
Yeah.
and do that with every facet of your life.
Yeah. And then I think it's another thing for women like you, because sometimes we feel like, why do we have to be, there's different evolutions of evolving as a spirit being, right? So we do come out of the victim mode and like, why me, and why I gotta do all, I already do all the things, and I
Mhm.
already, we're in that narrative, in that story where we have to be honest, we're in victim mode. Only reason why I'm able to say is because that's when I was there.
Mhm.
So I was already being so strong. Why do I gotta come and save myself? Why I gotta do all this work? I already done enough. But you gotta realize, once you embrace and step into that, you'd be surprised, and then be open, because then you'd be surprised of the people, when you get around other people who's doing that same thing for themselves.
Mhm.
This is why community is just so key.
Mhm.
And I love the sisterhoods that happen in our community. Like, we just had one of our members, they were out in Tanzania. One went and visit, one moved to
Nice.
Tanzania. She left America and went to go visit her. And I was like, I love seeing stuff like that. You'd be surprised of when you start doing that for yourself, to come and finally save yourself, and then get around a space of community of other people who are doing that yourself. Not to have it perfect, because we all don't get it. But this is where the people can pour into each other a little bit, because they've been pouring into their own cup,
Yes.
right? It's important to have that, and then you can embrace and open. You'd be surprised at strangers that, like I said, these two ladies that connected, they were strangers, they didn't know each other, they met inside of our Hervival community.
Mhm.
So you just be so surprised. And that, I've seen it in my own life. I felt like when I finally started to be like, I am worthy, that's what it really boils down to at the end.
Yes.
This is not the life I want. This doesn't serve me. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired. I was ready to let go down all of my weapons, my
Mhm.
swords, and just
Mhm.
surrender and really lean into what God wants for me, have more conversations with God within me, and not in a way like, I love still going to church, like nothing against that, but it's so much deeper than
Mhm.
just one time a week with fellowship with everyone else. How are you having the fellowship with yourself? Because that's
Right.
where God is having your deepest conversations with you at.
Mhm.
When you really take that time to really do that, I've seen it in my own life, things I've been able to manifest, the people who've been coming in for. And at one point I will push it away. Why? I don't want you to want nothing from me. Like, why are you getting that? But you'd be so surprised. And like I said, it's like a beautiful, chaotic in its own way, but it's such a beautiful like roller coaster that starts to like evolve, and just be
Mhm.
okay with the ride. A roller coaster, and there's parts of roller. I don't like the drop of the roller coaster, but it's fun. Like, I embraced it. It was fun. I got off and I was like, woo! That's literally what your journey in a sense could be like if you let it. We
Yeah.
have so much power to let our life evolve and expand to the way we want. And this is where mindfulness practice is so important, because if we just, like I said, be a passive witness to the things and not make things right or wrong, you flow better. You just get into that state of flow.
Oh my, this has been an amazing conversation. I have really loved every minute of it, and learning things that I didn't know, especially about gut health and about the gut brain axis, self-care, and how we need to integrate that into every fiber of our being, because it
Mm-hmm.
is more like I always say, it's more than a pampering practice. It's literally a lifestyle that you adopt,
Yeah, it
and
really
you
is.
make it a part of your everyday life, every moment of your life. And it's challenging for people who have been told, and I think that's most of our country, that you're not worth anything if you're not working, if you're not slaving, if you're
Mm-hmm.
not hustling, if you're not struggling. That is a falsehood that we have to really lay down and pick up the truth that if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not filling our own cups, then we won't have anything to give to anyone else.
Yeah, well, just like they say on the plane, put your air mask on first before you
Hmm.
get anyone else. If we really look at that so much in our life, we will operate a little bit more differently because you are losing little bits of oxygen at yourself. As the breath work says too, you
Hmm.
are. You're not even breathing right when you're taking on other people's traumas and issues and trying to do everything yourself. You're like gasping, breathing through your mouth, like all of that
Hmm.
affects your body. You're not getting oxygen. So like I said, I have many workshops that I share and talk about these events, teaching about breath work in this way. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's real.
So tell us more about the upcoming event that you have. I know you mentioned it a little bit, but just tell us a little bit more about that and where we can find you online and how our listeners can register for the event.
Yeah, so I have a signature event that I call Creating Balance to Elevate. And it's more about understanding and learning about gut health, gut brain axis. So I give a little bit of education, and then I teach some different exercises of breath work that you can literally use. It's tangible and take right with you. I like to have them. There is a pop-up virtual event. So I like to have them a few times out of the year as like a quick midday break on your lunch break. You could have had a very annoying meeting, your boss got on your nerves. I promise you'll learn some quick things to take with you as well as be very well educated. But I am actually doing an event for Juneteenth. That is our day of celebrating Black freedom and
Hmm.
all of the challenges, the traumas, the stress, and everything that we had to overcome. I'm going to be honoring and celebrating that as well as teaching my signature workshop and breath work there. So that's going to be on Juneteenth. You can learn more at hervival.co/events and register. And then I'm on social media. Hervival is all over on social media as Hervival on Instagram or Hervival_. And then I like to play in my Instagram story. So you can follow me at Thrive with LC, WITHLC. So THRIVE with WITHLC. I'm typically over there a lot in my stories, sharing, talking about my personal lifestyle as well as the behind the scenes of running Hervival
Hmm.
there.
Well, thank you. So you also have gut health guides, resources, and a quiz as well. So how can they find that too?
Yeah, so that is coming. So definitely subscribe to our list, hervival.co/subscribe, and you will be notified as well as shared about our membership in our community. So those who are in our memberships get access to a lot of our resources, even the masterclass that I talked about, Stop Meal Plan and Eat Smart,
Hmm.
is in our membership. And a part of our membership, they have access to online resources, on-demand classes, as well as our accountability and our support calls. And we also have a mobile app where women can have access to the membership and community on the go.
Okay.
So yeah, if you can go to our website, subscribe, this is where you'll learn more about our membership, upcoming events, and the quiz we have. I'm super, super excited because we're going to be having relaunching out a program that's really good, especially for women who struggle with that masculine and feminine energy and
Mm.
being able to work to know their energetic beings, their gut health, as well as astrological blueprints when it comes to taking care of yourself, self-care wise, because it has its factors as well.
Mm. Awesome. Awesome. So many great things coming out of her Bible. Thank you, Lauren, so much for being with us on the Blissful Life podcast. And thank you, everyone else, for listening in. Please be sure to connect with Lauren. Her information, her links, everything will be in the description. And definitely look at the show notes for maybe any extras we may have for you. So I hope that you take care, have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you again in our next episode.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Samantha, and thank you for everyone who listened for today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Blissful Life podcast with your host, Samantha Gregory. Please download the Next Level Self-Care Kit. It is filled with amazing resources and information to help you take your self-care to the next level. Go to samanthagregory.com/kit and you will be able to access the Next Level Self-Care Kit when you enter your name and email address. I look forward to helping you and supporting you in the future with other resources and our next episode of the Blissful Life podcast. Take care and have an amazing day.